Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I have another exciting interview today where we have a newer investor that says, you know what, I have some questions for this guy. I've seen him talk at different events, including one we did specifically for young hustlers. And I have Scott with me. So hi, Scott, Bliatout, how are you?
Hi, doing good, Michael. Thanks for
Excellent.
having me on the show.
Oh, you're so very welcome. And thanks for reaching out and being open to just asking your hard questions and stuff you're interested in. Allow me to record it because I think when we do these, it will help others. So why don't you just give a quick background on who you are, sort of how you're coming at this so that everybody knows kind of a frame of reference for you. And then you take over and you be the interviewer and I'll be the interviewee.
Michael,
Yes.
apologize about that. I think I'm going in and out with the connection again.
Okay.
But yeah. So my name's Scott Bliatout. I'm here in Fresno, born and raised here, graduated from Buchanan High School. I currently work for a nonprofit organization here, but I'm really interested in building some wealth for future, just whether it be through flipping or buy and hold, but I'm more interested in buying and holding. A little bit of background. We used to own a commercial shopping center on the southeast side of Fresno, which was awesome. That's something that my dad had built up for us. But unfortunately, a couple of years ago, we had sold that. And so what we were receiving in passive income, it's kind of stopped. And so now it's really up to myself to kind of build myself back up to that spot. And if nothing at all, at least have something to be able to pass on to kids if I'm lucky enough to have children in the future.
Very cool. All right. Well, let's get into it. That's great. How do you want us to start?
All right. So Michael, my first question is, what would your initial advice as far as creating a team or network be? And who should someone contact when first looking into real estate investing? For someone like myself, primarily looking to buy and hold?
Great question. So I'll answer that sort of one of two ways, because there'll be one answer for, I guess what I'll call long distance landlording, which is what I did for 15 years. And then because you're local, we'll answer that question differently. So first, my side. For me, the number one imperative I had to figure out was property management. I knew since day one, given my small slivers of time, that not only did I have no interest, but I had no possibility of building any kind of real portfolio if I was going to be a bottleneck for property management. So my number one thing was to try to figure that out. And we went through 5 or 6 teams. It was very hard, challenging. You have to be able to fire people and constantly look for improvement. And so that was mine. For someone that's local, and your dad may have experienced this when he had that commercial areas, you have a choice to make, right? Are you going to do self-management or not? And at least my suggestion is, if you really do have a full-time job, and that's kind of your offense, right? That's what I talk about is, that your job is to be very good at that.
Yeah.
Don't, sacrifice that ever for real estate investing. And in that case, it means you're still going to outsource property management. So perhaps property management would be a good first start. But without having anything, I would start to meet, I would actually set a goal of meeting 5 to 10 people in the real estate game every week, whether that be realtors, whether that be inspectors, whether that be property managers. I don't think I would limit myself. If I was coming into this looking to have a decade plus long career, I would spend the first year with a goal of meeting 5 new people a week. And if you did that, you'd meet 260 people a year, and you would have an extreme Rolodex, and very soon your Rolodex would be as large as mine. That's what I'd be doing if I was a new person. Is I don't think I would go by role. I would just set a goal of 5 people a week. And now let's be clear. I don't mean just meet them. I mean, get their email, get their business card, follow up with them once a month, right? Establish a relationship with 5 people a week. That would be my goal for you.
Gotcha. That sounds good. Oh, that's a lot of people to beat too.
Yeah. Well, if it's too much, take it to 2 a week. Just some number.
Do something though. Just don't do nothing. Right?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And my second question, you've mentioned several times in the past about conservative financing in past videos. But what's one advice you can give to folks who intend to utilize financing, and how can they repeat and re-rinse to grow a small portfolio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you got to remember what I'm trying to do. A lot of the people that I look to and talk to have what I had 15 years ago, which was a very demanding full-time job. We're talking 60 plus hour weeks, likely travel several times a week. They make a decent money. It's not that, but they just don't have any time. So what I'm trying to get them to focus on via conservative financing is low risk, nothing to worry about. They can hold for the long term, right? Because their constraint is time. If you're local and you have that going for you, the things to think about would be to do what we did, right? We bought our first property with 20% down. The market did what the market did, and then we went back and refinanced, right? A lot of I talk about exiting 2008 with 8 properties. We did all of that with just our capital of $40,000, and then letting time do what time does in real estate, and it raises the prices. We refinanced, we got a second loan, and we bought new stuff. So we got to that 8 units because we bought one every 6 months. We basically used our capital for the first 3 purchases, 20 grand, 10 grand, 10 grand. And then as time went by, right, as that second year came by, we refinanced the first one. We bought something, then 6 months later, we refinanced the second one. And you just let financing do what it does. So
Gotcha.
That's what I would do. Don't let your capital sit idle once you've proven it. Now, that said, never create an alligator, right? The mistake I made with our first property was I went back and refied it and took what the bank would give me as a maximum, which I didn't know any better, so I took it all. What I should have done is take about 10% less than that and create a slightly positive or maybe at best break-even property. Instead, by taking it all, I created an alligator. So every month for the next couple of years, I had to feed that stupid house from my income, which I'll never do again. So that's what I call an alligator property, something you have to feed every month regardless of what happens. Don't ever do that. That's just dumb because you're just betting on appreciation.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that go bankrupt betting on appreciation when market turns.
Gotcha. That kind of leads me right into the next question is that you've mentioned, of course, that a lot of new investors or prospective buyers are stuck around the idea of having to have 20% down to acquire a property, right? And while there are other options available, they don't see that. But if we were to take into consideration a conservative financing, though, wouldn't 20% be the minimum someone would want to put down?
Well, yeah, certainly 20%. Yeah, like if you use the word conservative, right, 20% is going to be it. You avoid PMI and all those extra fees. You don't have to slap a second on to higher interest rates.
Yeah.
But what I recommend, again, the people that have full-time jobs, have cash, and have no time, most of them I'm recommending 30 to 40%. Now that's goes against everything you read in books, right? Maximum leverage and do this and do that. But the people that I'm talking to, I'm trying to get them to 4 rentals. I want to give them low stress, easy cash flow. If stuff changes and they want to go bigger, refi those, take some cash out, buy some more stuff. But for them, it's just about getting to 4. It's about taking, I actually call a lot of them. They have something I call CRAP, which is CRAP, which stands for being cash rich, asset poor, right? Take the first letters. And I got to get people to understand that being crap, cash rich, asset poor is the worst thing to be. Your cash is worth less and less every week, every month, every year. And you can't save your way to a comfortable retirement. You need to buy assets that are tax advantaged, assets that are inflation protected. And if you can buy them with conservative financing so you can hold them forever, it's the best of both worlds. So for someone like you, 20% down is the right answer. For some of these guys I work with in the Valley, don't be afraid to do 30 or 40%. Some of the guys I work with that are over 50, I'm telling them to put 50% down because what they're doing is using a 15-year mortgage versus a 30-year mortgage. So, lots of things to do and think about.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. You're good.
Connection's still going in and out a little bit. So.
You're fine.
I'll go back and watch the video to to get everything that you said. So, okay. Next question I'd like to ask about is you mentioned a lot about pride of ownership properties, and I've explained your reasons why previously. But what can someone who's looking into these type of properties buy and still have them profitable? What do they have to look at? And how do they find them?
So, if you're following me, I don't put my stuff in the MLS. I don't have to.
Yeah.
People just reach out to me. They send me an email. They'll call me. They text me. They reach out on social media, whatever. And they say, hey, add me to your list because I do, 10 to 20 a year. So if people want these, they just reach out to me. I do think I'm pretty unique in that I'm the only one creating these as rentals. There's lots of people flipping owner occupants, but there's two problems there. One is the price points are even higher because they're selling to owner occupants and not landlords or renters. And two, they're sold vacant. Both are mistakes. What I want to do is provide a completely remodeled to owner occupant standards unit and give it already leased at market, right? So when I sell something, the math is there. We don't have to guess what rents are going to be. We have a lease. It's signed. Here it is. All right. So you can do your math. So I do think I'm pretty unique in that. I've never seen anybody else in Fresno focus on this, right? Beautiful, fully turnkey with a tenant. So at this point, I have more demand than I have units, which is okay. But if people want them, they just reach out to me and say, hey, put me on the list. I get a couple a month and we just keep rolling together. And, yeah, it's a nice place to be because there's nobody else doing it. So
yeah. I hear you. Yeah, maybe you can add me to the list in the future.
All you got to do is tell me. I have a list I'm looking at on the board. It's got 5 names on it. You'd be named number 6.
Awesome. All right. So next question. I just finished watching your video with Jay Helms.
Yes.
Just with W-2s, which is awesome. I think a lot of us folks actually fall into that, right?
Yeah.
And so let me ask you, if you could give one homework assignment to somebody who has a W-2 but is a prospective future real estate investor, what would that be?
Oh, I love that question. Nobody ever asks me about homework because I'll give it to you.
No one likes homework.
Yeah.
But it's got to be done.
It's got to be done. What I would tell you to do is I would tell you to do this. Pick a zip code in the market that you like. Maybe it's 93728, maybe it's 93711, whatever it is for you, whatever zip code you like. And I want you to build a spreadsheet that has no less than 20 and up to 50 properties on it. And I want you to be able to, even if you just look at them online, if you're local, go drive them. But in the end, I want to see a spreadsheet ranked best deal to worst deal. And I want you to be able to tell somebody, your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your next door neighbor, your cube mate, why deal number 1 is better than deal number 5, why number 5 is better than number 10. The reason I want you to do this is because once you build that foundation, now every day when you look at the MLS, you could rank that next property against that foundation, right? The reason I can process the MLS faster than most people is I have an incredible foundation. I only look at the top 2% of the deals, and I've seen thousands of them, most online, I'll be clear, but I've driven them, I'm owned enough. And I only now can look at a property and go, oh, that's probably in the top 2%. Add that to the list. Let's either make an offer or call the agent, whatever it is. New investors need to build a big foundation. I used to tell people 100 and people freaked out and never did it. Now I tell them 50 and still people freak out, whatever. So do at least 20. If you can't do 20, don't do this business. Go do something else.
Gotcha. Cool, man. All right. So that's a good homework to get on. I guess my final and last question is what advice would you give to new folks that are trying to get into real estate investing and breaking the bubble of being tunnel vision of just looking at realtor.com or the MLS? I know we talk about networking and things like that, but sometimes folks don't. They get let's say they get turned off by having to go out and meet people all the time. So what advice could you give folks like us to just get out there and do something?
Well, there's a couple of things. So I mean, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but the first 10 or 12 years of my career, I bought out of realtor.com. Everything. I didn't start networking until after, my first 10 years.
Wow. Uh-huh.
So, you know, you can be wildly successful. You got to remember what the homework assignment was. I had looked at hundreds of properties online, and I would only take action on the top 2%. So, you know what? You only have the evenings, and you can only look at Realtor or Zillow or Redfin or whatever the next one's going to be. Great.
Yeah.
Build your foundation. Look at lots of stuff. So in January 15th, you could look at all the new listings and go, wow, that one's better than every other property I've seen. I should write an offer, right?
Exactly.
You can be wildly successful just using Realtor.com. I'm proof. We did 10 years. Nothing but looking at Realtor.com or like service and then calling the listing agent, right? We went right through the listing agent. I'm a buyer. I saw your property on, 123 Main Street. You got it listed at 145. I want to offer 131. Double in the commission. Let's make a deal. And sometimes they tell me to fuck off because the house is perfect. And then the other times they'd say, great, let's write up an offer and see what happens. So,
awesome.
Yeah, you can be successful. Now, if you're in your market, you should go meet some people. You should go to the meetups.
Yeah.
You should meet you should meet 2 people a week like we talked about, and, be comfortable being uncomfortable. It's not that bad. Everybody in the real estate game, real estate's a people business.
Sure.
You can only be so successful looking at your computer screen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something that we can all take from that. Got to kind of get out of that bubble, meet people, talk to people. If you don't, then you may never find that deal or learn the next thing to do. So appreciate it, Michael.
Yep.
I think that pretty much sums up all my questions that I wrote down.
Yeah, very cool. So let me ask you a couple of questions that I had after listening to you. So I sort of understand where you've been. You have you already saved up a down payment or a little money tucked away, or are you still putting stuff away? Where are you at in that kind of process?
Well, we have some money. I have some money tucked away.
Okay.
Still trying to build that, of course, but
Nope.
starting to reach out to folks such as yourself. I've reached out to a few folks that you've had in your previous videos.
Okay.
So that kind of breaks the ice of things.
Good.
But ultimately, I guess the goal would be for 2000